Kia ora te whānau, Markie here. I'd said back along I wouldn't be doing many videos, and I'm doing even fewer videos than I anticipated when I said that, because I had a wisdom tooth removed, which all seemed to go very well. And then rather than getting better, the pain was getting worse. And I think I've got something called dry socket, which is causing me a lot of pain. But luckily it's kind of pain that does seem to ease off and then flare up. So it's eased off a bit, so I'm going to sneak in a quick video when I've got the chance. Also, you'll be glad to see the return of the grizzled walrus, because I'm very kind of unshaven and unkempt, kind of since being in pain. I really don't want to shave because the face is sore. So the grizzled walrus of retroactive jealousy is back, even if it's just for a little while, with a retroactive jealousy video. Okay, so this is something that occurred to me recently, and it's all to do with values, as the title suggests. So Zachary Soccer was the first person to kind of, as far as I'm aware, to raise this as an issue, and it's a very useful issue. So is this about RJ? Is it RJ, which is an illness and of irrational and distorted thinking? Or is this simply a relationship where there is a clash of values around sexual behaviour, what's okay and what's not okay? Okay, and Zachary talks a lot about that. Okay, so and I've talked about that. I think this is on our website. I've listed a couple of examples of situations where it might be a values-based thing, as opposed to RJ, and I've given quite clear, solid, and ambiguous examples. So, so the one that I think I gave two, and the one that I gave was if you are in a society, and I think I was kind of talking about Middle Eastern kind of Muslim-dominated societies, where sex before marriage is frowned upon completely. That if you have a partner with a sexual history, and you have some difficulties around that, they're less likely to be RJ, they're more likely to be based on your value system, provided of course that your value system is congruent with the societal value system. Okay, so it's unlikely to be an illness. So RJ is an illness. It's by nature, it's about distorted thinking and irrationality. So if there's a kind of rationale, albeit that you could challenge that societal rationale, and I'm going to get onto that kind of thing in a minute. If you've been a product of that culture and have bought into it and imbibed it, then that's how you're probably going to feel. Look, I've got the shaky camera and the fingers on the lens, which is what happens when I try and do these things with the camera the right way around. I should give up on that, really, shouldn't I? It's my trademark, the camera the wrong way around. So, got me thinking about this, and and the question, which often is asked in far more ambiguous and less clear circumstances, by lots of people that present themselves for help with RJ, is, well, I don't know if this is RJ or if this is to do with my values. Okay, now what occurred to me very recently was, is this even the right question to ask? Because what are values anyway? How can we differentiate the diseased part of ourselves from the healthy part, presumably healthy part of ourselves that forms our values? Aren't our values formed by the same causative factors that form the RJ? And this is where, this is kind of I got quite philosophical. So I've got lots of questions in this video, which I suggest asking yourself. So as RJs, we're good at asking ourselves questions and thinking about things, but we tend to think about the same things over and over. We don't ask ourselves the important questions, I think, quite often. So this idea came to me during a video that I did on Richard Dawkins a little while ago. And my objection to Richard Dawkins, as is also my objection to anybody that's evangelical, really, for anything, is that I think it's very cruel to destroy somebody's belief system and somebody's values, because usually values are serving people. Usually a value is something that serves us as an individual and the people around us, or the world around us, really, because a value can be about reducing pollution to the environment, so that there is a clear benefit to somebody that's got that value to the whole world, you know, to the ecosystem, to the environment. And religious values often have that benefit. Not always. It depends on the religion and how it's interpreted. But you know, often somebody that holds a religious value will get a sense of comfort and psychological strength from that. Is likely to be a happier person, and they are likely potentially to behave better towards other people. Like I say, there's loads of examples where the opposite happens. But this is just by way of example, really. Watch a Richard Dawkins video if you want to get into the nitty-gritty of that debate. So I came to the conclusion, really, that all values, religious beliefs and values, which kind of, you know, have the same, you know, which are all, which are kind of different, but probably kind of, you know, live in the same place, if you like, within us, are no good, are no value as values unless they benefit us and benefit the people of the world around us. Okay, so if we're holding values that cause us distress and we're in this wonderful relationship that we want to enjoy and with a wonderful partner that we want to appreciate, and our values get in the way of that, then are they values that we want to continue to uphold? Okay, that's the first kind of question, really, and I think that's a very useful one. And I've done other videos as well talking about where sexual values come from, and I've talked a lot about the sexual revolution, so check that one out as well. That'd be a useful video to watch in conjunction with this one. So rather than ask the question, which can be very difficult to answer unless it's, you know, a really clear example, a clear cultural kind of example, or that you belong to a religious community, and I think that's the other example that I gave on the website, where certain values are upheld and everybody in that community upholds those values, then you know, I think we need to look at that, really, and not be too hung up on whether it's RJ or whether it's values based, but to actually just evaluate our values and look at whether they're actually serving us, and also poke and prod them and look at where they come from. They're not, you know, they're not sacred, you know, they should be scrutinized, because one person's value is another person's horror story, really. You know, I mean, Nazi Germany was a highly values-based society. Nazism is a highly values-based philosophy. And people who follow right-wing, extreme right politics are high in conscientiousness. You know, this is something that research has shown. So, but they're not my values. You know, and I think they're you know, horrific. But they are values, you know, and people that don't kind of examine their values are potentially very dangerous. And I guess in this case, your unexamined values could be very dangerous to you and to your partner. So take a look at your values and ask yourself those questions. So 3 questions really. One is, does this value serve me? Does this value serve other people or the wider world, or particularly my partner? And also, what's this value actually based on? You know, where does it really come from? Do I even know where it comes from, or have I swallowed this whole from somewhere else, which is what you probably have done. Okay, so that's one part. The other part as well is, and this kind of fits in with religious values as well, is another question is, if you have a value about behaviour, shouldn't that value be about what you do, not what about other people do? Okay, so you've got values that casual sex is wrong, so you don't do casual sex. But does that mean that other people should not do casual sex? But they've got different values. So, so if other people are working off different values, why would we have a problem with that? Okay, and even if we do think it's bad, even if we do think they're bad or they were bad for what they did, because that's the values that we hold, they're not doing it now, are they? Because they're in a relationship with you, so they're monogamous now. They're not having casual sex and one-night stands and threesomes and flings and, you know, whatever it was. They're not doing that now. They're with you. So so if it's a case of just issues around values, why can you not forgive them? Okay, that's a question, not a criticism. And always with RJ, it can be helpful sometimes to step out of RJ thinking and try and think like a non-RJer. So another way of looking at that really would be is if you had a partner with a criminal past and your values were, you know, around being law-abiding, but they were no longer acting criminally, would you forgive them for that? You know, or would you say this person has got a criminal past, I cannot be with them? Which is kind of interesting. And I've met people who've fallen on both sides of the spectrum with that. Really, is I've met people that I did know somebody that actually ended a relationship with somebody who had, because they found out that they'd had a bit of a criminal past in their youth. You know, they'd not been criminal for you know, the bulk of their adult life, but they disclosed you know, some criminality in youth. Lots of people are criminal in youth and move through it, and actually ended the relationship on that basis. So some people, and that wasn't an RJer, so that's somebody that that did that. So I'm not saying that's right or wrong or good or bad, but you know, that does happen. And in lots of cases, people will say, well, no, that's, you know, that's in the past. You know, lots of people have a troubled youth or they go astray, and you know, what's important to me is who you are now and where you've got to now. So I think that's an important one to look at as well. Some things to think about. Okay, and I think this is a good exercise for everyone, really. Explore your values. There is a piece of work that I give to people occasionally, which is called like a values/attitudes mapping exercise, which can be quite useful. And I have done a video on that. I'll see if I can fish it out and put a link on it. I don't recommend it to people at the beginning of their RJ recovery usually, because the first thing normally I recommend people at the early stages of RJ recovery is to get the anxiety down and to start managing the triggers and things like that. And then you can start to do the deeper work after that when you're less emotionally volatile, if you like. But in some cases I do, if somebody's main issue is around, well, I'm really confused, is this values or is this RJ? And I suppose, yeah, so to conclude, you know, if you have the issue of is this value based or is this RJ, if you're asking that question, if it's not actually that blatantly clear, for example, you know, like the example that I gave, if it's cultural, then maybe you shouldn't even be asking that question. Maybe you should go straight to, let me have a look at my values and are they serving me? Okay. I hope that's helpful. I think this is one food for thought, really, isn't it? This is one to kind of think over. So let me know your thoughts on this. I'd be very interested, and I hope that this is helpful. And I don't know when I will see you next. I hope I will see you again soon. And Rangimarie.